the third anniversary of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Relations between President Donald Trump and the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky are at a low point right now. Yesterday, Trump called Zelensky, quote, a dictator without elections. Now, for some context, Zelensky was elected president by his voters in 2019. However, due to the ongoing war, Ukraine did not hold elections scheduled for April last year.
Zelensky and others have criticized the Trump administration for attempting to negotiate a peace deal with Russia without Ukraine at the table. Joining us today for some insight is Jeremi Suri, a professor in the LBJ School of Public Affairs at UT Austin. Thank you so much for being here.
Nice to be with you.
We want to start, before we get into the latest from this week, with a little bit of background on peace talks, these types of negotiations. Is there a framework for how they typically go, and what is the United States' role usually?
Absolutely. So we have a long experience. We've been doing negotiations like this for about 50 years. And generally they work by bringing the most powerful actors together, whether it's Iran that we're focused on, Ukraine, Gaza, bringing the most powerful actors together, in this case the US and Russia, along with the key actors on the ground, which would include Ukraine, probably many of its European neighbors. And the negotiations would be around trying to find a solution where the larger powers can have their strategic interests served, but those on the ground can be satisfied with what is agreed to. These negotiations have been very different. These have been the rare negotiations, usually unsuccessful, where two big powers try to go over the heads of those on the ground.
Are there any historic examples of where the U.S. has led peace talks without involving one of the countries or nations or groups involved with this conflict?
There are a lot of examples, but when we teach them, they're usually failures. So the one that comes to mind that people have been asking me about is the infamous Munich conference in 1938, when Adolf Hitler gets together with British, Italian, French, and to some extent Americans, though Americans are kind of in the back seat, and they negotiate a deal over the future of Czechoslovakia that gives Nazi Germany control of Czechoslovakia. That's often seen as the start of World War II. Another example of this is the Geneva meeting in 1954, where the United States, China, and the Soviet Union negotiate over Vietnam, and that's actually the beginning of the Vietnam War. What happens when you don't include people on the ground is they don't accept the deal, and they lead and try to create more conflict, and that's what we're going to see, I'm afraid.
Yeah, and Zelensky has said that outright, that he would not be able to accept any kind of deal without Ukraine's involvement directly.
Right, you have to get buy-in from those on the ground. It doesn't mean they have veto. You can put pressure on them. You can coerce them. That often happens in these negotiations, but you need to get them to sign on the dotted line. Otherwise, they will resist, and you'll see more conflict.
Also notably left out of these conversations, Europe. And we want to give our viewers a bit of context. This comes just days after Vice President J.D. Vance really blasted leaders of the European Union at a large international speech. NBC News is reporting that the shift in how the Trump administration is dealing with Europe is leaving leaders there stunned, I believe was the quote. So give us your reaction to the shift in policy as it relates to the European Union.
Absolutely. This is very real. It's happening quickly before our eyes. I've heard this from many politicians and scholars I know in Europe who I've talked to. They're stunned. This is as if your longtime neighbor who was a best friend, who took care of your kids and watched your property, has decided they are now your adversary, and they won't help you, and in fact they're going to work with the people in the neighborhood who you thought were threatening to you. What Europeans are witnessing is this long-time relationship they see being severed, and severed on one end for reasons they don't actually understand. They're not really sure why, other than the fact that they perceive that the Trump administration would rather work with Russia, their adversary, than work with them. And this is disrupting everything in Europe. Their entire defense posture and economy is built on the post-war order, which was a cooperative arrangement with the United States.
Two of the points that might come up during these peace talks would include territory boundaries, particularly what Russia has taken from Ukraine, as well as Ukraine's potential membership in NATO. What are the odds that you think that these might happen, given that the Trump administration is now in charge of directing these talks?
It looks like the talks are going in a very different direction. What we've heard from the Trump administration, we don't know what they're actually proposing. What we've heard includes allowing Russia to hold on to the territory. It already has, which is somewhere around a quarter to a fifth of Ukrainian territory, and Ukraine not only not being in NATO, but actually having no relationship with NATO of any kind. This would basically leave Ukraine vulnerable, and it would give Russia at least a partial victory for its aggression. Russia attacked Ukraine 3 years ago. And this would reward them for that. Our fear, as those of us who study this as experts, is not only will this encourage more expansion by Russia, it will encourage the Chinese to do the same in Taiwan. The Chinese are claiming they have a right to Taiwan. If they see that we reward aggression, why wouldn't they try the same thing in Taiwan tomorrow?
We do want to ask, President Trump has repeatedly commented and said ending this war would be easy. I believe, a campaign promise was to end the war on day one. A little bit about, is this shift an attempt to try and meet those promises? What do you evaluate as, the Trump administration's tactics here?
Well, many presidents, he's not the first, when they come into office say we're going to end these wars that we've been fighting. Eisenhower said this about the Korean War. It's very hard to end wars. It's much easier to start them. It's one of the things we teach in classes. Be careful when you start a war, because even if you decide and your powerful peers decide they don't want to fight anymore, the people on the ground are not necessarily going to give up. This war will not end anytime soon. Even if Trump makes a deal with Putin, the Ukrainian people will continue to resist, and we will see fighting on the ground similar to what we saw in places like Vietnam and Afghanistan. That will continue, and that will draw in the United States because they will attack our interests in the region as well as Russian interests.
Well, Professor Jeremi Suri, we will wrap up our conversation there. This could keep going, quite frankly, for a lot longer than we have allotted today, but we appreciate you joining us to talk about this and give us that insight.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Always nice to see you.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, we'll send you to break, and we'll be right back after this.